This is it? This is what we have been afraid of for 3 cycles. Commander Vex scoffed, his 4 eye-stalks swiveling independently to take in the pathetic human settlement. Look at these structures, barely standing against the atmospheric pressure. And their defense systems? Hey, my offspring could disable them with a training module. I kept my doubts to myself as our flagship, the inevitable Conquest, hovered above the human colony on Proxima B. As second tactical officer, my job wasn't to question Commander Vex's assessment, but to ensure our invasion went smoothly. And by all appearances it would. Officer Taz, your analysis? Vex barked. I cleared my throat tubes. The colony appears to house approximately 2,300 humans, sir. Minimal military presence. Their communication array is surprisingly primitive. We could jam it with standard protocols. Of course it's primitive. These are humans, Vex said, pronouncing the word like it was something stuck between his feeding mandibles. The most overrated species in the Orion Arm. The Galactic Council has been quaking in their exoskeletons over nothing. Absolutely nothing. Our intelligence briefings had painted humans as dangerous, unpredictable, and tenacious. But this colony? It looked like they'd barely gotten started. Prefabricated habitation domes, rudimentary terraforming equipment, and a single defensive turret that looked like it couldn't repel a meteorite, let alone our warship. Begin the invasion sequence, Vex commanded. And someone record this. I want the Council to see how easily their boogeyman falls. Lieutenant Krill, always eager to please, chittered excitedly. Recording initiated, sir. Should we deploy the full battalion? Vex made the Zentorian equivalent of an eye roll, a full rotation of all 4 eye-stalks. Why waste the resources? Send a single squadron. Actually, no. Send half a squadron. 20 soldiers should be more than enough. But, sir, I interjected, protocol dictates. Protocol dictates whatever I say it dictates. Officer Taz, Vex snapped. 20 soldiers. That's an order. I exchanged glances with Science Officer Plex, whose antenna twitched nervously. We'd both read the full reports on humanity. How they'd fought off 3 different extinction events on their home planet. How their fractured political systems somehow produced remarkable unity when faced with external threats. But this colony looked nothing like the formidable human settlements we'd been warned about. Sir, Plex ventured cautiously. Perhaps we should scan for hidden defenses? The humans have been known to… To what? Surprise us with their incredible ingenuity? Vex laughed, a grating sound like rocks in a compressor. Look at them. Half their equipment is malfunctioning. Their atmospheric shields flicker every 8.3 minutes. They are barely surviving, let alone posing a threat. I couldn't argue with the visual evidence. The colony did look vulnerable, fragile, almost deliberately so? No, I was overthinking. This was just a struggling outpost on the edge of human territory. Easy pickings. Squadron deployed, sir, Lieutenant Krill announced. We watched on the main view screen as our troops descended in their drop pods. No resistance met them. Not a single defensive measure activated. The humans were scurrying around like confused insects, clearly unprepared for our arrival. See? What did I tell you? Vex's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. The great and terrible humans, running for shelter at the first sign of trouble. I zoomed in on a group of colonists. They weren't running toward shelters, they were moving equipment. Methodically. Almost as if. Sir, I said, I think they are protecting their technology. Not themselves. You up? Of course they are. Primitive survival instinct. They value their tools because they can't replace them, Vex dismissed. Krill, connect me to Squadron Leader Draz. The view screen shifted to show our troops on the ground, already rounding up humans who offered no resistance. Squadron Leader, report, Vex commanded. Sir, we have secured the central complex. No casualties. The humans are compliant. Draz sounded almost disappointed. They are surrendering without a fight. Any weapons? Nothing significant, sir. Personal tools, mostly. Some mining equipment. And Vex's mandibles clicked in triumph. Begin the interrogation protocol. Find out who's in charge and bring them to me. I studied the humans on screen. They looked frightened, yes, but there was something else in their expressions. Something that made my exoskeleton itch. 30 minutes later, we had our answer. This is Dr. Alana Bright, the colony administrator, Squadron Leader Dreas announced, pushing forward a female human with short gray head fur and facial features that indicated advanced age by human standards. Vex had demanded the human be brought to the bridge, another violation of protocol that I didn't bother pointing out. The commander was enjoying his victory too much to care about proper procedure. So you are what passes for leadership in this establishment. Vex towered over the human, his 4 eye stalks bent to examine her from multiple angles. The human showed no fear. Interesting. I'm the colony administrator, yes, her voice was steady. And you are making a terrible mistake. Vex laughed. A mistake. Look around you, human. Your colony is captured. Your people are detained. Your defenses, what little you had, are disabled. What possible mistake could I be making? Dr. Bright's lips curved upward slightly. I recognized it as a human smile, but it contained no warmth. You think you have found an easy target, a weak, isolated colony you can use to demonstrate your superiority. That's your mistake. And why is that? Vex leaned closer, towering over the human. Because we are not isolated, and we are not what you think we are. For the first time, I noticed a small badge on the human's outer garment. It bore an insignia I didn't recognize, a stylized planet with a ring of stars and underneath the letters ARES. What is ARES? I asked before I could stop myself. Dr. Bright turned to me, that unsettling smile widening. Advanced Research and Exploration Station. We are scientists, officer? Tactical Officer Taz, I replied automatically. Officer Taz. We are not a military outpost or even a standard colony. We are researchers, studying this planet's unique properties. Vex made a dismissive gesture. Scientists. Even better. No threat at all. I didn't say that, Dr. Bright replied calmly. I said you are making a mistake. Something about her confidence made my antennae twitch. I pulled up our intelligence reports on my datapad, searching for information about human research stations. Sir, I said quietly to Vex, I can't find any reference to ARES in our databases. Because it's nothing. Vex snapped. A meaningless human designation. Dr. Bright sighed. You really should have done more reconnaissance before attacking us. Basic military strategy. Vex's color changed to the deep purple of rage. You dare lecture me on military strategy? I have conquered 17 worlds. And yet you just violated the most basic principle of warfare, she replied. Know your enemy. I continued searching our databases while they argued. Something was wrong. Very wrong. ARES wasn't listed anywhere, but there was a reference to something called Project Ares in a classified appendix I couldn't access. But, Commander, I interrupted, I think we should. An alarm cut me off. Lieutenant Krill's appendages flew over his console. Sir, we are detecting an energy surge from the planet's surface. What? From where? Vex demanded. It's coming from beneath the colony, sir. Deep underground. Dr. Bright's smile hadn't wavered. That would be the geothermal tap activating. We needed to make sure your ship was in position first. In position for what? Vex snarled, grabbing the human by her upper appendage. The ship suddenly lurched, throwing everyone off balance. On the view screen, I watched in horror as massive metal structures emerged from the ground around the colony, unfolding like the petals of a carnivorous plant. They weren't defensive turrets or weapon emplacements. They were transmitters. What are you doing? I asked Dr. Bright as the ship's alarms blared. Calling my sister, she replied simply. Before I could ask what she meant, our communications officer shouted, Sir, massive quantum transmission detected. They are broadcasting our position. Jam it! Vex roared. I can't. It's using frequencies we can't block. Dr. Bright looked almost apologetic. Your jamming technology is impressive, but it can't affect quantum entanglement. The message is already sent. What message? To whom? I demanded. To Earth, of course, and to Martian High Command, to Jupiter Station and the Titan Defense Force, to every human military outpost within 50 light years. She looked directly at Vex. You didn't capture a colony today, Commander. You captured bait. The bridge fell silent except for the wailing alarms. You are bluffing, Vex finally said, but his voice lacked conviction. There are no human military forces within this sector. Our intelligence confirmed it. Your intelligence is outdated, Dr. Bright replied. We let it become outdated. Deliberately. I pulled up our star charts, checking the nearest known human military installations. The closest was at Tau Ceti, over 10 light years away. But if they had faster ships than our intelligence suggested, Sir, I said quietly to Vex, perhaps we should withdraw and reassess. Retreat? Over the threats of one captured human? Vex's color darkened further. Preposterous. Dr. Bright sighed again. You still don't understand what ARES is, do you? We are not just scientists. We are the early warning system. The canary in the coal mine, as we used to say on Earth. What does that mean? Krill asked, confusion evident in his voice. It means, I answered slowly, the realization dawning on me, they wanted to be attacked. They were waiting for someone like us. Dr. Bright nodded. Smart officer you have there, Commander. Yes, we established this outpost knowing it would look vulnerable. Knowing it would attract exactly the kind of aggressive species that the Galactic Council should be concerned about. Vex's rage was palpable now. So this is some kind of trap? You expect me to believe that? You don't have to believe anything. Just wait about 20 minutes, and you will see for yourself. I checked our long-range scanners, suddenly paranoid. Nothing yet? But 20 minutes wasn't much time if we needed to escape. Sir, I said more urgently, I strongly recommend immediate withdrawal. Vex turned all 4 Iastalks toward me. Are you questioning my command, Officer Taz? No, sir. I'm providing tactical advice based on new information. New information? The ramblings of a captured human? This is what terrifies you. Vex gestured dismissively at Dr. Bright. Not me, Dr. Bright corrected. What's coming next? As if on cue, Lieutenant Krill made a strangled sound. Sir, gravitational anomaly detected. Something's coming through subspace. The view screen shifted to show empty space. Then, a ripple, or a distortion. And suddenly a ship appeared, then another. And another. They were unlike any human vessels we'd ever encountered. Sleek, black, with no visible propulsion systems. And they were massive, each one at least 3 times the size of our flagship. Commander, Dr. Bright said quietly, meet humanity's angry sister. The Advanced Retribution and Elimination Squadron, the other ARES. The bridge erupted in chaos as more ships appeared. Dozens of them, forming a blockade around the planet. Sir, they have locked weapons on us. Krill's voice had risen to a panicked pitch. Vex stood frozen, his Iastalks fixed on the armada surrounding us. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely audible. Impossible. Humans don't have this technology. They can't. You are right, Dr. Bright agreed. 10 years ago we didn't. But we learned. We adapted. That's what humans do best. My mind raced through our options. Fight? Suicide. Run? Unlikely to succeed with their ships positioned as they were. Surrender? Unthinkable to Vex, but possibly our only chance of survival. Incoming transmission from the lead human vessel, sir, our communications officer announced. Ignore it, Vex hissed. Sir, they are overriding our... The view screen changed to show a human bridge, far more advanced than anything in our intelligence reports. At its center stood a female human with dark skin and striking gold-colored eyes. Her uniform bore the same insignia as Dr. Bright's badge, but with additional markings. "This is Admiral Maya Bennett of the Earth Defense Force," she announced without preamble. "You have attacked a protected human research station and taken hostages. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded, or we will open fire." His mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme stress. "This is Commander Vex of the Zentorian Empire. We do not recognize your authority in this sector. This planet falls under our jurisdiction by Galactic Council mandate." The human admiral's expression didn't change. "I'm not interested in Galactic Council mandates, Commander. I'm interested in the safe return of our people. You have 2 minutes to comply." The transmission cut off. Dr. Bright looked almost sympathetic. "For what it's worth, Commander, I did try to warn you." X rounded on her. "This is a violation of interstellar law. The Council will hear of this." "They already have," Dr. Bright replied. "Why do you think we broadcast on quantum frequencies?" "The Council received the same message Earth did. They know exactly what you have done. I checked our tactical display. The human ships had US completely surrounded, their weapons systems unlike anything I'd ever seen. Advanced, powerful, and unmistakably deadly." "Sir," I said quietly to Vex, "I recommend we comply." "Comply? Comply?" Vex's voice rose to a shriek. "Surrender to humans? Sir, we are outnumbered and outgunned. Our priority should be the safety of our crew." Vex stared at me, then at the view screen showing the human armada, then at Dr. Bright with her unsettling smile. For a moment I thought he might order us to fight to the death. It would be in keeping with Zentorian tradition. Instead, his shoulders slumped. "Power down weapons," he ordered, defeat evident in his voice. "Prepare to be boarded." As our crew scrambled to comply, Dr. Bright leaned closer to me. "You know what the real irony is, Officer Taz? We actually are one of Earth's weakest colonies. Just wait until you see what the strong ones look like." And for the first time in my military career, I felt something I'd never experienced before, fear of what humans were truly capable of. The boarding process was humiliating. Human soldiers in sleek, black armor swarmed through our ship with practiced efficiency. Their weapons looked nothing like the outdated pulse rifles depicted in our intelligence briefings. These were compact, almost elegant devices that hummed with energy I couldn't identify. Hands up. 4 appendages where we can see them. A human barked at our bridge crew. Their helmets concealed their faces behind reflective visors, making them appear more machine than organic. Commander Vex stood rigid, his pride visibly crumbling as the humans secured our bridge. "This violation will not stand," he muttered, though his voice lacked conviction. Dr. Bright had been quietly observing the proceedings with that unsettling half-smile. Now she approached one of the human soldiers. "Captain Reeves, good to see you. Everyone at the research station is accounted for." The soldier nodded, removing her helmet to reveal a face with sharp features and short, auburn hair. "All personnel secure, Doctor. No casualties." "Excellent," Dr. Bright replied. "And the data?" "Transmitted successfully. Earth Command is very interested in our visitors." I felt a chill run through my exoskeleton. "Data? What data had they collected about us?" Admiral Bennett strode onto our bridge, flanked by 2 guards whose armor bore additional markings. Unlike the soldiers, she wore no helmet, displaying complete confidence in her safety among us. A psychological tactic, no doubt. "Commander Vex," she said without preamble, "you and your senior officers will accompany me to the retribution for questioning. The rest of your crew will remain here under guard." Vex's color darkened with rage. "We are officers of the Zentorian Empire." "You have no authority to." "I have every authority," Bennett cut him off, her gold eyes flashing. "Or would you prefer I simply destroy your ship and be done with it? That option remains on the table." I stepped forward before Vex could respond with something that might get us all killed. Admiral, as second tactical officer, I request permission to accompany the commander. Bennett's gaze shifted to me, calculating. You are the one who advised surrender. How did she know that? Our internal communications should have been secure. Yes, Admiral, I confirmed. She nodded once. Granted, you might prove useful. Dr. Bright stepped beside the Admiral. I recommend bringing Officer Taz. He showed significant cognitive flexibility during our interaction, rare among Zentorians. I wasn't sure whether to feel complimented or insulted. The human was discussing me as if I were a specimen, not an officer of the third largest empire in the galaxy. Very well, Bennett agreed. Commander Vex, Officer Taz, Lieutenant Krill, and Science Officer Plex will accompany us. The rest stay here. Vex looked ready to explode, his mandibles clicking furiously, but said nothing. We had no choice. We were outmaneuvered, outgunned, and completely at the mercy of a species we had gravely underestimated. The shuttle ride to the human flagship was brief but revelatory. Through the viewport, I caught glimpses of their fleet that sent shudders through my carapace. Their ships bore evidence of design philosophies we'd never encountered, asymmetrical configurations, strange protrusions that defied conventional space warfare logic, and propulsion systems that left no energy signature our scanners could detect. Admiring our fleet, Officer Taz? Dr. Bright had taken a seat beside me, away from Vex, who sat rigidly between two armed guards. Your technology exceeds our intelligence assessments by a considerable margin, I admitted. She nodded. We let your spies see what we wanted them to see. Old models, retired systems. Just enough to make us look like we were struggling to keep up with the galactic community. Why? I couldn't help asking. Why present yourselves as weaker than you are? Dr. Bright's eyes, brown with flecks of green, I noticed, studied me carefully. 2 reasons. First, to identify potential aggressors. Species who would attack what they perceive as an easy target reveal much about their character and intentions. And the second reason? Her smile returned, enigmatic and slightly predatory. Because it's always advantageous to be underestimated. The shuttle docked with the Retribution, and I got my first close look at human military technology up close. The docking bay alone was enough to shatter any remaining illusions about human technological capabilities. A sleek fighter craft, unlike anything in our records, lined the walls. Robotic systems moved with fluid grace, performing maintenance tasks with inhuman precision. This way, Admiral Bennett commanded, leading us through corridors that pulsed with subtle lighting. We were escorted to what appeared to be a conference room. A large table dominated the center, surrounded by chairs designed to accommodate various physiologies, including, I noted, Zentorian. They'd prepared for us, or perhaps for any species they might capture. Sit, Bennett ordered. X remained standing. I demand to speak with the Galactic Council representative. This is a clear violation of. The Council representative will join us shortly, Bennett interrupted. Until then, you will answer my questions. Or what? Vex challenged, his pride finally overcoming his common sense. Bennett's expression didn't change, but something in her posture shifted. It's a subtle tensing that made my survival instincts scream danger. Commander Vex, she said quietly, do you know why humans managed to survive on Earth despite being, physically speaking, one of the weakest species on our planet? The non sequitur seemed to confuse Vex. And what relevance does that have to? Pattern recognition, Bennett continued as if he hadn't spoken. Excel at identifying patterns and predicting outcomes. Right now, I'm recognizing a pattern in your behavior that suggests you are going to continue being difficult until I demonstrate why that's a poor decision. She tapped something on the table, and a holographic display appeared above us. It showed the inevitable conquest surrounded by human ships. One word from me and your vessel becomes scrap metal. Your crew becomes casualties of war. Your empire becomes one ship weaker. That's the pattern and outcome I'm predicting. Care to prove me wrong? Vex slowly lowered himself into a chair. I could see his translator glands pulsing with stress hormones. He was terrified but trying not to show it. Much better, Bennett nodded. Now, explain why you attacked our research station. We believed it to be a standard colony, I answered when Vex remained silent. Our intelligence indicated minimal defenses and no military presence. And that made it an acceptable target? Dr. Bright asked. According to Galactic Council Resolution 7729.3, unclaimed systems with minimal defensive capabilities are open to acquisition, but, I explained, choosing my words carefully. Bennett and Bright exchanged looks. They really believe that, Bright said, sounding almost sad. Of course we believe it, Vex finally spoke. It's galactic law. The strong claim territory, the weak petition for protection. That's how it's always been. Not anymore, a new voice announced. We turned to see a human male entering the room. His uniform was different, gray rather than black, with an insignia I didn't recognize. Ambassador Jackson, Bennett acknowledged with a nod. Perfect timing. Ambassador? Vex straightened. You are the council representative? The human's mouth twitched. Not exactly. I'm humanity's ambassador to the Galactic Council, and I have just come from an emergency session where your Empire's actions were the primary topic of discussion. This made no sense. The nearest Council outpost was at least 2 days' travel at maximum speed. Quantum entanglement communications, Dr. Bright explained, noticing my confusion. Real-time communication across any distance. Another technology we have kept to ourselves. Ambassador Jackson took a seat across from us. The Council has reviewed the evidence transmitted from ARES Station. They have also heard the Zentorian Empire's defense. What defense? Vex demanded. We haven't been allowed to communicate with anyone. Your High Command spoke on your behalf, Jackson replied coolly. They disavowed your actions entirely. They called you a rogue commander acting without authorization. Vex's color drained to a sickly gray. That's impossible. I followed standard conquest protocols. This was an approved operation. Perhaps, Jackson shrugged, but when faced with evidence of humanity's defensive capabilities, your Empire found it politically expedient to abandon you. I felt a wave of nausea. The Zentorian Empire was notorious for its rigid hierarchy and uncompromising military doctrine. If High Command had disavowed Vex, they had effectively sentenced all of us to death, or worse, permanent exile. What happens now? I asked quietly. Bennett looked to Jackson, who spread his hands in a human gesture I couldn't interpret. That depends, the ambassador said. The Council has granted humanity full jurisdictional authority in this matter. We can do whatever we deem appropriate with you and your ship. Which brings us to an interesting crossroads, Dr. Bright interjected. You see, we humans have a rather complex history with conquest and colonization. We have been both conquerors and conquered. It's given us a unique perspective. What perspective is that? Lieutenant Krill asked, speaking for the first time since our capture. Cycles of violence tend to perpetuate themselves, Bright replied. Unless someone chooses to break the pattern. Ambassador Jackson nodded. The Council expected us to demand reparations, territory, technology, perhaps even execute you as an example. And, Vex asked, his voice hollow, and we declined. Silence fell across the room. I don't understand, I finally said. Bennett leaned forward. Let me be clear, Officer Taz. We could destroy your ship. We could demand concessions from your Empire that would cripple them for generations. We have the power and the Council's backing to do so. But that's not our way, Jackson continued. At least not anymore. Not the way we want to be. Dr. Bright's expression softened slightly. Humanity spent thousands of years fighting among ourselves before we reached the stars. We learned some hard lessons about power and its application. So, what will you do with us? Plex asked, his scientific curiosity apparently overcoming his fear. "We are sending you home," Bennett stated simply, with a message. "Yun?" Vex's eye stalks swiveled in confusion. "What message?" "That Earth and all human colonies, even our weakest outposts, are under our protection," Jackson said. "That aggression against any human settlement will be met with overwhelming force. And that despite having every justification to destroy you, we chose restraint." "Why?" Vex demanded. "Why show mercy when you clearly have the advantage?" Dr. Bright stood and walked to the viewport, gazing out at the stars. "Because true strength isn't demonstrated by how easily you can destroy your enemies. It's shown by how confidently you can afford to spare them. There's something else you should understand," Bennett added. "This fleet? It's not our primary defense force. It's not even our secondary response team. This is just the rapid reaction unit assigned to this sector." I felt my blood run cold. If this armada was merely a fraction of humanity's military capability. "Before you leave," Jackson said, "you will be given full specifications on human territorial boundaries, updated intelligence on our defensive capabilities, and a direct quantum communication link to my office." "Why would you give us all that?" I asked. "So there will be no misunderstandings in the future," Bennett replied. "No outdated intelligence to blame, no claims of ignorance." Dr. Bright returned to the table. "And so you can tell others what you have seen here today. Sometimes the most effective deterrent isn't a weapon, it's a story." "A story no one will believe," Vex muttered bitterly. "They will believe the sensor logs from your ship," Jackson smiled. "Which, by the way, we have already copied and transmitted to the Council as evidence." The meeting concluded shortly after. As we were escorted back to the shuttle bay, I found myself walking beside Dr. Bright. "That colony," I said quietly. "It was never meant to be self-sufficient, was it? It was always bait." She glanced at me, that enigmatic half-smile returning. "It's a genuine research station. We are studying xenobiology and planetary formation. But yes, it also served as what we call a honeypot, something attractive to the wrong kind of attention. You risked your people's lives." "Not really. Every scientist there is also military trained. The colony has emergency bunkers hundreds of meters below the surface. And the moment your ship appeared in our system, the countdown began for the defense fleet's arrival." She paused. "We were never in any real danger." "And now? What happens to ARES station?" "Now it continues its scientific mission, but with a slight modification." "What modification?" Dr. Bright's smile widened. "Now it includes xenodiplomacy, starting with you, Officer Taz." "Me?" I stopped walking. "Ambassador Jackson was impressed by your conduct during this incident. He believes you might be valuable as a cultural liaison between our species. Commander Vex would never allow." "Commander Vex has been relieved of his command by your high command," she reminded me gently. "And in their communication with the Council, they specifically offered you as a potential diplomatic attaché." I struggled to process this. "Why me?" "Because you were the only one who questioned the invasion, the only one who advised caution, the only one who seemed to recognize humans as equals rather than prey." She touched my arm lightly. "Those qualities are rare and valuable, Officer Taz. Perhaps too rare in your empire." The journey back to our ship was silent. Vex sat rigid with humiliation, his career and reputation destroyed. Krill and Plex whispered among themselves, no doubt planning how to distance themselves from Vex once we returned home. I stared out the viewport at the human fleet surrounding us, at the tiny research station on the planet below, and contemplated how thoroughly we had been outmaneuvered. Not through superior firepower, though they clearly possessed that, but through strategy, psychology, and patience. As we docked with the inevitable conquest, Admiral Bennett approached me. "Officer Taz," she said, her gold eyes studying me intently. "Dr. Bright tells me you might have a future in diplomacy." "So it seems," I replied uncertainly. A word of advice, then. She leaned closer. When you report back to your empire about what happened here today, be thorough, be precise. Make sure they understand exactly what humanity is capable of. You want me to frighten them. I want you to educate them, she corrected. Here is a poor foundation for peace. Understanding is much more durable. And if they don't listen? If they see your mercy as weakness? Bennett's expression hardened. Then the next fleet we send won't be coming to talk. As our ship limped away from Proxima B under escort, I drafted my report to High Command. I described the human technology, their tactics, their unexpected mercy. But most importantly, I emphasized one crucial lesson. Never judge the strength of humanity by its weakest outposts. Because behind every vulnerable colony stands an angry sister, watching and waiting, ready to demonstrate why humans conquered not just their world, but their entire solar system before reaching for the stars. And as we entered hyperspace, leaving human territory behind, I couldn't help but wonder if my people would heed the warning, or if they would mistake mercy for weakness, but a mistake I now understood no species could afford to make twice.